Hey everybody, thanks for checking out my latest video. Hi peeps. I wanted to go over the DraftKings Rainmakers and DraftKings DFS Week 6 recap for the NFL, various contests, lineup results, and some card buys and sells. Overall, it was a pretty frustrating week for me, but that was more from DFS, I would say, than from Rainmakers. But let me go ahead and jump into it. So hopefully you can see these. These were the week six Fiat winners for core, rare, and elite. So the core was Burrow, McCaffrey, Diggs, Andrews, and Hill. Nothing stacked, no game stacked. 151. The rare was Burrow, Mixon, Chase, Tyreek Hill, and Pittman. So you had three Bengals stack. 149. That won 10,000. That won 5,000. And then the big one, the elite Fiat that won $100,000. That was Burrow, Stevenson, Chase, Kelsey, and Diggs. So there they had the Burrow Chase stack and a 1-and-1 stack from the high scoring Buffalo KC game, at least anticipate. And that was 151.8. Now the deep winners on the deep lineups. So that was a pretty low scoring week, as you can see, coming in at 150 on the highs. 150 is the one we often talk about as getting that score will give you a good payout. On the deeps, you can almost say 200 generally will get you a good payout, but you may need more than that to win. So the deep winners, this one 2,000 with 209. It had Allen, Diggs, Kelsey from the same game. They had the Giants kicker with Barkley. See, I don't know if there's any other stacks on that. The rare had Burrow, Chase again, Kelsey, Diggs again, scored 197. They had Walker and the Seattle kicker linked up, so running back and kicker linked up. And also Kelsey again from the same game. And then the elite that won 10,000, Burrow, Fournette, Barkley, Diggs, Chase, Andrews, McPherson, Tampa D. This had the San Francisco D, and that had the Seattle D. So none of those had the Jets D with Tyreek Hill. But pretty big name players there, obviously. And that came in at 215, won 10,000. So by the way, all those people that won those contests, I looked them up on Lucky Trader just to see if they were whales or not. And basically, they had all spent about $600 to maybe like $12,000 on the marketplace, not including packs. So none of them were huge whales, and there were some smaller people in there, in particular one of them. So that's heartening, I guess you could say, for those of us that aren't in that bracket above that. Of course, $10,000 is a lot to a lot of people, but all those people had nice cashes, and none of them were huge whales. A lot of them had a lot of quality players, or some of them had a lot of quality players, and like stacks of the same player, but not that much sort of depth. It's possible they're rotating their players in and out depending on the week, but you're probably going to lose some money doing that with the 10% fees and all that. So they may like load up on particular players for a given week and sell other players type thing. So the points cutoffs for the lowest prize, remember they adjusted these and made them worse last week, and they're continued this way this week. So it was sort of harder to get the lowest to cash in. But the point totals, that one came in about 81 on the Fiat, which is high, but it was 80 last week. The rare went all the way up to 79 from 69 because they did that. That's unfortunate. The elite only went up 5 points, 66 to 61. That's to win a rare pack. On the deep, this one actually dropped from 75 from 84. The deeps tend to be easier to win prizes in than to cash in, but they just don't have as big prizes at the top. And you have to use more players, obviously. The rare was 84 versus 80, and the elite again is the strongest one, 103 versus 106. And they took these down by quite a bit, which was annoying. But they kept them the same for the new week, week 7. So just you can see, here's what won the Fiats and the deeps. You can see again the 150 range, 0 stack on that. Previous week was 158, 170, 148, 197, 161. The rare came in at about 150 with Cincinnati stack, a 3 stack. And the 3 stack had won that the week before with Buffalo. And then you can see on the big contest, I didn't have week 1 and 2, but that came in at 152. That's had some lower totals. That was a 2 stack plus a 1-1, means 2 from the same game, different teams. Bengals, Buffalo, Seattle, Jacksonville. The core deep the total's been going down. I think that's the week I came in second, either that week or that week. And that had a 2 and then a 1 from the same game, the 3 from the same game, and then a 2-team stack as well. So my results for the week, I had a lot of placings, but I'd only end up winning $64 and 7 cards. By the way, all of the cards, maybe bar 1, were awful. I just opened up 6 of them this morning, and I think it was 3 defenses and a kicker, which aren't that bad, and then the others were bad. I have gotten 1 Burrow in a prize pack recently, which I actually sold. But so I actually didn't put as many good players. I had a lot of deep lineups entered, and I ended up not putting as many good players into them and focusing more on the Fiats, and that may have cost me a bit because I really didn't win any money on those, and normally I do. And these 2 core deeps, I mean, I only broke 100 on one of them. Although, again, it was a low-scoring week. If you didn't have Chase, Burrow, and Diggs, it was hard to get a good score, really. But these 2 were within like 2 points and 4 points of winning $20, so that's frustrating. But I did have a rare Fiat break 100 for the first time for me. I've had a core get 133, that one 25. I did all right in the showdowns. I had several, but just not winning a lot of money, but getting 4 cashes in those. So the 7 cards, if they had been better cards, that would have made me a little happier. But so 65 isn't bad compared to what I normally make, but I invested a lot into Rainmakers over the past week and a half or 2 weeks or whatever. I'll show you some of the cards I bought because I had been winning on DFS and Rainmakers, so I bought a bunch of rares. And so to have that not go up a lot is a little annoying, but it does set me up well, hopefully, for the future going forward. And overall, I'm definitely nicely profitable on it. There's the lineup that actually, that was my first lineup, rare to break 102 points. It was Ryan, Cook, Metcalf, Pittman, and Fournette. And you can see Metcalf crapped out, or I would have done even better on that. Of course, not many people had Ryan Pittman paired up on that week. And that came in good. So here's the buys and sells. And then I'm going to go over DFS a little more in depth because I was trying to do an analysis because I didn't do well on that at all this week. And I was trying to look at the information I was giving you guys from the one premium site, projection site, and just where I missed out. But as far as buys and sells, I've only sold 5 cards, and a lot of them are really good running backs, and I've sold a few of them too cheap. These are prices I just had already had in there, and I knew Stevenson was a starter and Walker. I mean, I should have raised the limit prices to probably at least 13, but somebody snapped up and these were all profits, but somebody snapped up my Stevenson, Benjamin, Walker, Hall, and the Burrow prize card. So I am trying to sell cores, so I don't really mind, but the prices were too low. So I bought a lot of cards recently, and here's the main ones. There's also some cores that aren't even on here that were cheap, but you can see I'm profitable on almost all of them, bar this pack. I bought a momentum pack, and I'm probably not going to buy it. This was probably the worst net pack that I bought because I've had a lot of packs I bought that were winners. But I opened the pack, the $50 one. I'm glad I did. Well, I didn't buy the $100 one, but I bought the $50 one. And I had a St. Brown and Njoku, a James Conner, and a Mike Thomas. I'm like, well, that's a pretty good start. Let's see what the rare is. And it was a Gesicki. And that's probably my 4th Gesicki. So that sort of killed it. Like I'm down like 24. I'm basically down 50% on the pack. And my marketplace buys are very rarely big losers, or even not very often losers. And then I didn't even start the Gesicki, and that probably would have put me in the money on those on the deep lineup. But I bought a Herbert rare, a Barkley core because I just didn't have one. I had already sold one for like near $50, and I wanted to have one for the rare lineups. Bought a Pittman, that one's working out well. Bought a Cooper, and you can see the prices. Like this is just what Lucky Trader is showing for the lows, the floors. So there may be lower ones in other sets, but you can see they're pretty much all profitable, except for this Montgomery. I didn't realize it was quite as bit jacked up before the showdown, but still, I don't mind having that. I kind of like having that one, obviously. So Pittman, Cooper, Pierce, Jacobs, Devontae Adams. Now I have a lot of Jacobs and Devontae Adams, but they were so cheap. And Devontae Adams looks like he's not going to get suspended or anything, which I didn't think he would. McCaffrey, I bought a Burrow. And so unfortunately, one of my Burrows sold right before the contest started, or I would have had two Burrows going, but I did have one. There's the pack. I bought a Dalvin Cook, Montgomery, a Cousins, Sutton, a Mike Williams, and these are pretty good right here. An Ayuk for 15 and a Lazard for 20, and then I bought a Stafford. Now, several of these guys are off this week, but I had several off last week, too. It's just going to happen now with the buys. And I'll do a preview of what's coming up this week, probably Wednesday or Thursday. So on the DFS, I didn't total my amounts, but I got pretty walloped overall. And one thing that happened, I've never seen this happen before. I've never had this happen, but my browser's been having problems with location finding for DraftKings, especially entering the DFS contest. So I was entering a bunch, and they were showing up as entered. But I swear to God, a lot of them weren't there once the contest started. And I've looked this up online, and nobody else seems to have this problem. Because I know for a fact I entered at least 3 or 4 tiers contests. None of those were on there. So I'm wondering how many other lineups I entered that weren't on there, because I entered a lot of $1 ones, a lot of $3 ones. And I'm wondering if any of those would have been bigger hits. So that was frustrating, and I just got to not do it when if it's coming up with a location error, or it was sort of just clocking out on the location error. But if I hit refresh, they were showing up on my upcoming lineup. So I don't understand what happened. But I know for a fact I entered tier contest. Anyway, this is the one that won it didn't win the Millie Maker. I didn't have that access, but it won this giant $3 one that had 450,000 entries. So it was $100,000 first prize, 1.25 million. It was Burrow, Walker, Stevenson, Chase, Godwin, Ayuk, Ertz, Jackson, Deion Jackson, and the Jets. Fairly chalk in terms of that 5 guys were pretty highly owned. But on the other hand, Burrow was very, very low owned. Ayuk was low owned. Jackson was relatively low owned in the Jets defense. So that scored 220 points, which I don't think is a super duper high. So really the keys were, to some degree, were Burrow, Chase, and Diggs. Diggs was very widely owned at 23% and got 34 points, and I didn't own hardly any Diggs. I didn't own hardly any Chase, and I didn't own hardly any Burrow. And I'm a Bengals fan, and I knew they were playing in New Orleans, and I've been playing them every week, especially Burrow with different combinations or by himself. And they were cheap. 7,700 was cheap on him. And, the site I was using, they didn't have Chase as like a highly owned guy. He might have fallen just outside the threshold. But so that's what really burned me when it really comes down to it. I just wanted to go over what I had mentioned in the previous video to see if the advice that I was giving or the information I was passing on was decent. So these were like the ones they were projecting as the highest zone. There were others on there. They had Ertz and Godwin fairly high. They just weren't at the top of their thing. And I definitely played Ertz. I played Jackson a lot. I played Stevenson a lot. I played Walker a lot. I played a few Godwin. I didn't have any Jets. I maybe won anywhere, and that my defenses did horrible. And that's another thing. I usually balance out my defenses more. So it was just some bad mojo this week. It just didn't go well. But of the guys that were highly owned, the green ones tend to be ones that came in well. Yellow are okay, I guess you could say, for the salary, and red are crap outs. So Geno Smith was a crap out. I owned a ton of him. Lockett was a crap out. I owned a ton of him. Brown was a crap out. I owned a decent amount of him. Jacksonville was a crap out. Allen, Stevenson, Walker, Andrews came in good. Benjamin didn't come in that good, but he was very low salary, as well as Moore didn't come in that great, but he was really low salary. Now, the ones they had as leverage, sort of like the ones you could make out the best in, if you had them versus the field, the week before that it worked really well, but it didn't work very well this week because their primary leverage was Jackson and Samuel. And Lamar came in at 18, which isn't that bad, but when you consider his salary, and Samuel came in at 16, which could either be considered meh or bad, depending on his salary. Jones was a crap out. I had a lot of him in various ones. Tampa Bay defense, I had a ton of. That crapped out. Kelsey came in with a lot of points. I didn't know much of him. He was expensive. Fournette, I owned a lot of. Jackson, I owned a lot of. I wish I had more. I wasn't sure what the ownership was going to be. Mixon came in meh. Kamara came in meh. I mean, decent. Then as to their bargains, some of the ones I had listed as their bargains. Jackson, that one came in great. Mostert crapped out. Dobbins crapped out. I had a lot of Mostert. Peoples-Jones was one of their big sleepers, and 11.6 wasn't bad considering he had a 3.9 salary, a 3,900 salary. Waddle actually came in decent. Ayuk came in really good, and I had some Ayuk, and that benefited me. Bengals defense came in terrible. I had a lot of those. And then their optimal sort of players, or their highest scoring, they had Allen, that came in. Benjamin, or no, I'm sorry, their optimal highest percentages. So when they ran simulations, these were among the players that came in the most in 100,000, like doing tons of DraftKings simulations based on projections with salary. So Benjamin was kind of a meh. Fournette came in good. Stevenson came in. Cup crapped out when in terms of his salary. I had some Cup this week. Samuel was okay, and Andrews was good. Tampa Bay defense again did bad. And some of the other guys that I owned a lot of that didn't do well. I had a lot of Higbee. They really liked him on that site, 1.7. I had a lot of Metcalf with Seattle. I had a lot of Brady, Duvernay on Baltimore, Wilson. I forgot even which Wilson that is. And Valdez-Scantling I had a lot of on KC, and he came in with 0 points. So, it's how it is with DFS. If you have holes and they come in, like the Diggs, Chase, and Burrow, I had very, very low of. And then a lot of guys crap out. And like Lockett and Smith, with tons of people on, not just me, didn't come in at very good at all. All right, so I've already gone 15 minutes here. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. Thanks for checking out my video. Feel free to comment, share if you had any nice wins or how it went for you. Again, the Rainmakers wasn't too bad. The DFS was bad for the amount I put in this week. And like I said, they were missing contest entries. I don't know how that happened because I know for a fact I saw them under my pending lineups. So I don't understand. I thought maybe DraftKings would catch up to it or somehow. So basically, if you're I'm using a Brave browser, and if you're getting warnings of location, it wasn't doing that in Rainmakers though. It was only doing it on DFS, and then it didn't do it later. So basically, I guess if I'm getting those location warnings, just don't enter contests for that because some of them may not be in, even if they look like they're in. And that's it. There's my Dapper username and my DraftKings referral code. And thanks again for checking out the video. Have a good